Back in 1916, an American company called Boeing was born, just 13 years after the Wright brothers' historic flight. They made awesome planes like the Boeing 247 and the Jumbo 747 and became really successful. But then, along came Airbus, a much younger company. Surprisingly, they became a big rival to Boeing and started getting more orders, dominating the market for the past 20 years. You might think it's because of the trouble Boeing faced with their 737 MAX planes, which were grounded for 20 months after the accidents. That was a big part of it, but there's more to the story. The story goes way back. How did a European company catch up to the American aviation leader? Who came up with the idea for Airbus and why? It's a fascinating journey of competition and ambition that we're about to explore. But before that, we would like you to subscribe to the channel for updates. The story of Airbus and Boeing goes beyond mere competition. It's a tale of political rivalry between the United States and the European Union with many intriguing layers. In the post-World War II era, as Europe was rebuilding and countries sought cooperation, the French and West German governments came up with the idea of Airbus in the late 1960s. They envisioned uniting aerospace companies to create accessible aircraft that could challenge the exclusivity of existing manufacturers. Initially, Airbus aimed to fill a gap in the market left by Boeing, Lockheed and McDonnell Douglas. These giants controlled most of the industry but lacked a product in a specific category. Later, Airbus set its sights on direct competition, launching the groundbreaking Airbus A300 as the first wide-body plane with two engines to meet ETOPS standards for long-haul flights. Now let's zoom in on the current situation. As European companies joined forces and began producing modern aircraft, Boeing had to respond. In 1997, it tried to replicate the success by acquiring its direct US competitor, McDonnell Douglas. However, this move brought along inherited problems, including economic and corporate culture issues that would later take a toll. And so, the era of the powerful duopoly in the aviation industry began. But let's not rush. This industry requires substantial investment. Designing, developing and manufacturing aircraft is a complex and expensive undertaking. The question was, who would fund the technology needed for both companies to compete? For the first time, Boeing faced a potential giant that could challenge them head-on. How would they compete? How did the Europeans plan to surpass the American behemoth? Launching a new aircraft program requires two crucial elements: money and sufficient demand. Take the example of the Airbus A380, the world's largest airliner, which was discontinued in March 2021. From its inception to entering service, the A380 was initially estimated to cost around $11.3 billion in 2000. However, current estimates reveal that the development of this sky giant devoured over $30 billion. These are staggering sums of money. It's worth noting that even Airbus admits the A380 never turned a profit. While it generated revenue, the losses incurred along the way amounted to billions of dollars. Now let's talk about the second requirement for launching a new aircraft: demand. Poor forecasts can turn the development of a new aircraft into a disastrous venture, considering the immense costs involved. This brings us to the most contentious aspect of the battle between these industry titans. Many Americans perceive Airbus's achievements as unfair competition, igniting a trade war between the United States and the European bloc. Take a look at this headline. US and EU agree to suspend Airbus-Boeing trade fight. The 17-year trade fight is the longest and most costly in the history of the WTO. US importers have paid more than $1.1 billion in tariffs since the duties took effect in 2019, according to data from the US Customs and Border Protection. Wall Street Journal. Now, let's delve into the intricacies of this conflict and unravel why it has unfolded. Has Airbus truly prospered due to preferential treatment from the European governments? Is this a case of unfair competition? And what about the United States? Let's find out. The trade dispute between the US and the EU involving Boeing and Airbus centers around financing. Airbus received substantial public funding from European governments, exceeding $15 billion, which creates challenges for Boeing. This funding, known as launch aid, covered development costs and was expected to decrease over time. However, an agreement with the US to address imbalances in aerospace industry support has not materialized, leading to tensions and trade disputes. Boeing has received a lot of money and special treatment from the US government. They got huge contracts for military and aerospace projects, and some people think they paid too much for them. Boeing works closely with NASA, the Department of Defense, and the Department of Homeland Security, earning billions of dollars from these contracts. They also got help from the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, in certifying their planes, which has been criticized for being too lenient. This led to serious problems with their 737 MAX planes and tragic accidents. The aircraft industry has faced challenges that have hindered its progress, opening the door for China's aviation industry to capitalize on the situation. COMAC, China's aircraft manufacturer, has emerged as a potential competitor to Airbus and Boeing, especially in the short and medium-haul segments. The Chinese government is subsidizing aircraft development and placing significant orders through state-owned airlines. With the introduction of the COMAC C919 underway, China poses a significant threat to Boeing and Airbus. The C919, which can carry up to 174 passengers, directly competes with Airbus's A320 and Boeing's 737. China aims to produce 150 of these aircraft per year by 2028. This scenario, with a dominant Chinese aircraft manufacturer in the domestic market, would be a nightmare for Boeing and Airbus. It further complicates the ongoing trade dispute. China is a crucial market for both Boeing and Airbus. With an estimated demand for around 8,500 new passenger aircraft by 2041, China represents a significant opportunity. If COMAC manages to capture a substantial share of this market, it could drastically impact the future of Boeing and Airbus, posing a direct threat to their business. Acknowledging the importance of the Chinese market, both companies and the governments of the United States and the European Union have taken pragmatic steps. Boeing and Airbus have established assembly lines in China for popular models like the 737 and A320, A321neo. Additionally, the EU has proposed ending launch aid to Airbus in exchange for military financing, similar to the American model that has caused friction. A truce has been signed between the EU and the US to resolve the trade war before 2026. The future remains uncertain, but it is clear that both Airbus and Boeing cannot complain about unfair competition. Both companies have received substantial support, control a significant market share, and have strong political connections. The question now is whether Airbus and Boeing will establish a lasting peace. Should they collaborate to prevent the Chinese from gaining market dominance? The future of the aviation industry will be shaped by these dynamics, and the outcome is yet to be seen. To conclude, the story of Airbus and Boeing is not just about two companies competing, but also involves political rivalry between the United States and the European Union. Both companies have received significant funding and support from their respective governments, leading to accusations of unfair competition. The ongoing trade disputes and conflicts arise from these financial and preferential treatment issues. Meanwhile, the emergence of China's aviation industry, with its own manufacturer COMAC, adds another layer of competition and uncertainty for Boeing and Airbus. The future of the aviation industry and the balance of power among these giants remain uncertain as they navigate these complex dynamics. If you liked the video, do subscribe to the channel for more updates. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye!